Hello everyone, this is Gail from Gail's Upstairs Studio. I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought I would take a minute to talk about how I paint on glass and what I use and how I get it to stay on there. This vase represents my most viewed video since I put it up last spring, I think. And I have had a few questions about how I do this, and I thought I would address that today. So here's one example. I'm going to show you a few that I've done on this channel. That's on glass. This is on metal. This is on essentially plastic. It's a battery operated candle and it's plastic. This is glass. And this is metal. And the first question I generally get is, what kind of paint do I use? And the answer to that is very specific. I've never tried anything else because this product has always worked wonderfully for me. It is Folk Art paint by Plaid, and it is multi-surface acrylic paint. Not regular acrylic paint, but specifically multi-surface. I also use enamel paint, which is also by Folk Art, and this works probably the best on glass. However, it doesn't have the variety in colors to choose from, and it's harder to find. I usually, if I order any enamel, I order it right from the Plaid website. The multi-surface, it's a little easier to find in other places. You can find it at Hobby Lobby and Michael's and sometimes Walmart. And there is a lot more colors to choose from, and especially if you go on the Plaid website. I use so much of it that I generally just do it that way. If I'm running low on a color, I'll order 2 or 3 bottles and add a few more colors. So that's the first question answered. It is Folk Art, which is a Plaid brand, multi-surface paint. And usually it's indicated on the top by that. And the enamel usually has a glass on the top. Next is, how do I prepare glass for painting on? And it's pretty simple. You want there to be no oils on the glass to begin with. Hand oils or anything that should, if you bought it in a store, you'd want to come home and wash it good first, and then wipe it down with rubbing alcohol and let it dry. And then check again just to make sure that you have everything off. And this process ensures that the paint has the best chance of adhering to such a slick surface. And then it just comes down to, what do you want to paint on it? And what brush do you want to use? And there are different schools of thought on this, and some people will just use a regular brush, and some people will use the softest brush they can use. It just depends on how you want to use it. Now, when I first started painting on glass, I had learned, really the first thing I learned to do with any kind of paint was the one-stroke method by Donna Dewberry. And that is where I learned the basics of acrylic painting and doing everything in one stroke. Now, through the years, I have expanded upon that on my own, and I do different things now. But when it comes to glass painting, that system works really well when you're only putting down paint once and you're not layering on top of it. Because when it's on glass, if you try to put another coat on top of it, it'll pull up the layer underneath. And so I find that, suggested by her years ago, when I learned, I had a couple of books and a couple of videos of hers, and she suggested soft brush. And the way you lay the paint down on a slick surface is different than the way you would put it on wood or on canvas, because you're trying to kind of scrub the paint into that surface. Whereas on a slick surface, you're trying to lay it down. And I find the softer the brush, the better results I get. And you kind of want the paint to be pretty thick. I am using a folk art brush, I think. Yep, a plaid brush, and it's pretty soft. And I'm just going to wet it and put some paint on. This is the thing about painting on a slick surface, is you want it pretty thick to begin with. You don't really want to be able to see through it much, because that means it's on there thick enough, because you don't want to go back over it if you can help it. So we will just do a quick little flower here. And I'm laying the brush way over on its side so that I'm laying the paint down. I'm not trying to scrub it in. And I can't really see through it. So that's a good way to start. And I don't have any yellow down, so I'm just going to put a green center on that. And if you just keep it to that and you don't try to mess with it anymore, that's going to adhere just fine. And I'm going to put a couple of leaves on here, and you don't want to really touch what you've already put down so much. So you want to kind of separate it a little bit. And we'll just put another couple of leaves down. Here's the nice thing about painting on glass too. While it's still wet, you can wipe it off. And for our purposes today, that's as far as I will go. But I don't know if you can tell through the camera. It is thick. You can't really see through it. I'll turn it around. You can, it's translucent but not transparent. And that should do nicely. Now, as far as how you cure that on, pardon that sound, I'm scraping the paint out of the brush. As far as getting that to stay on, the best thing to do with glass is to let it cure on its own, just air dry, for at least 24 hours. And then at that point, I've always followed the directions of what Plaid says to do, and it's always worked great for me. At that point, I will bake it in the oven, and ovens are all different, but their instructions for temperature works for my oven. You want to put this in a cold oven, and you want to then turn your oven on to 350 degrees. You're going to time it for a half an hour from the time that you put it in the oven. So you're timing it from a cold oven for 30 minutes. And then at the end of that 30 minutes, you turn off the oven and you let it get all the way cool again. And then you take it out. And at that point, with gentle care, this will last quite a long time. Now, I have done coffee cups before, many times actually, and they will last a long time, but they will show wear. If they're everyday use especially, they will show wear after a while. And I think, not that I'm an expert on anything, but if I were to make a suggestion, the best way to use this paint and to use it on glass is on a vase or on a mirror or on something. Obviously, you can't put a mirror in the oven, but if it isn't being touched a lot, cleaned a lot, you can just air dry it for 30 days and just dust it with a soft, I use microfiber cloth. And if it's got a smudge or something, usually it's not on the paint itself, so that you can wipe off around it. You shouldn't use Windex. You should only use like gentle soap and water if you feel the need. But the best way to do is just a soft, a dry dusting. That's usually what I do on a vase. So that's glass. And as far as metal goes, you can just air dry it. And on this one, actually, I air dried it and then I spray sealed over it because I use this on my front porch so it sees a little bit of weather. My mailbox that I did on this channel, I can't show because it is actually my mailbox. And it is winter right now, and I am looking at it and I can see flowers from here. I'm sure that there's a little bit of weathering on the mailbox itself because we have gotten weather this winter, but it's wonderful for that. And this one, I had never done it on plastic before until I did this video. And I'm not moving it with, it's not wax, it's plastic because it's a battery operated candle. But I'm not moving it with my hands. And it has stayed perfectly fine. I'm not seeing any scratches on it. So that is how I paint on a slick surface and how I get it to stay. I will tell you that if you're looking for the directions for the baking specifically, I have found better luck Google searching it, and it will take you to the Plaid website right to where that question is answered. I haven't had as much luck from the Plaid website because I have looked it up before to remind myself when I've ordered paint. Trying to find it from the website, it's harder to find, but if you just Google search it, it will take you right to the Plaid website and will answer that question for you. Well, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you give it a try. I don't generally do tutorials because I do not claim to be an expert at any of it, but I have done enough of the glass painting that I thought that I could answer a few questions for you. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.